Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar with a bit of a short and sweet video over here. If you're looking at the title, this Indian guy just beat Rockstar's crappy anti-cheat in how long? 2 hours. Now the footage I'm showing you on the screen right now is Grand Theft Auto Online footage captured on the most recent version, I think 1.69. And the thing about this version is it has the BattleEye anti-cheat put into it. Now this is running underneath a virtual machine, so not Linux itself, but a virtual machine running underneath Linux. And I've shown this setup in the past, and normally virtual machines would be blocked by anti-cheats, but if you know what you're doing, and you know how to mask certain things, and you know how to make yourself look as close to a real computer as possible, there's a chance you can bypass anti-cheats like BattleEye, like Easy Anti-Cheat, and obviously some like Valorant are still kind of the holy grail to bypass. But I'll explain why I've done this, and it's not just to play Grand Theft Auto. But to go into it, I, as a Linux gamer, decided to basically abandon Grand Theft Auto, and there's a reason for it. So in that video, I basically said that, yeah, it's pretty much the natural end for me. Like, obviously, as a Linux user, I am not somebody that really should be participating in playing video games that are hostile to the operating system that I use. Now, in the last video, I showcased that Linux was this, platform that's kind of building up in the last few years. We're up to like 4.95% desktop market share. There's not a lot of Linux people out there, okay? It's a lot of Windows users and Mac users, all right? And if you're not using a computer, you're on mobile operating systems. Now, in the last several years, Linux gaming has kind of blown up, with the help of companies like Valve, and it's become a actual serious competitive option for people who once, on the PC, only had Windows to use. For the longest time, you only had to use Microsoft Windows and you had no competition. Now you finally have the competition if you want to play games and not be tied to a proprietary operating system. But anyways, in the case of Grand Theft Auto, in the case of Rainbow Six, a lot of these games use kernel-level anti-cheats that are frankly incompatible with Linux, okay? And in that case, you pretty much are forced to add a kernel-level driver onto your Windows installation and basically take a hit on your personal security. Now, I noticed in the last couple weeks, there's been some rumbling that Microsoft is talking about taking, things out of the kernel, and none of these have been substantiated. Microsoft's not really doing any of that, from my understanding. I think there's been a lot of misinformation floating around. But to go into what BattleEye did, all right, and how I bypassed this, I have made several videos on virtual machines on my channel, okay? And if you guys want an up-to-date video for 2024, I would be totally happy to make an updated GPU, virtual machine video where I can teach you how to make a gaming virtual machine, even if you only have one graphics card. So I only have one graphics card in my system, and the way my virtual machines work is typically I fire up a Windows 11 machine, I hit the play button, and what it'll do is it'll blank out my computer, and it'll boot to a Windows virtual machine that I have built underneath. Now, on its own, and any virtual machine software, no matter how it is, like which type it is, will be detected by any of these anti-cheat solutions running in kernel. But to show you a couple things that you could do, and I don't say that I do any of this myself, my methodology is far different. It's more customized because what I'm showing you has already been detected and usually is patched out by the biggest anti-cheat manufacturers. But some of the stuff you're seeing over here are things like Proxmox anti-detection scripts. So you've got this QEMU anti-detection that aims to work against Anti-Cheat Expert, Easy Anti-Cheat, Gepard Shield, MyProt, and Protect GameGuard, Roblox. Of course, the only one that they don't seem to be functioning against is Vanguard, and that's just basically the holy grail of anti-cheats to effectively bypass. And again, there's also things like RTDSC KVM handlers, which require you, if this seems really confusing to some of you guys, what you can do is take some of this and, throw it in and actually patch your Linux kernel itself. And, once you have a patched kernel, then it basically means that you can run these virtual machines with even more, I guess you could say, abstraction. And one thing I've seen on YouTube, at least, is some channels basically saying that these are the scripts that I would be using. I can't confirm or deny anything, but it's generally this idea of, kernel patches and these things that I'm actually aiming to hide, just so I can actually, play these games. But it's not really just for that. One of the primary reasons for me doing these levels of virtual machines is so that when I do things like virus investigations, or I actually assess malware. Malware is designed in a lot of cases to be detective of or virtual machines, just because then it knows that it's being usually analyzed by a researcher, and then it stops doing what it needs to, so you can't do any form of like surveillance on those, malwares. So it's not purely a gaming thing for me, it's also for YouTube content and working on stuff down the road. But I wanted to bring it up here just because, this is why I ended up doing this. It's not necessarily as a fuck you to Rockstar. But yeah, the methodology that I use is obviously a virtual machine that is designed in such a way to be nearly undetectable. So when I do run a game and there is a ban eventually down the road, and again, the software could end up getting you banned. And I want to preface for YouTube TOS, do not be circumventing anti-cheats. It's not okay at all. I do this purely as a research and an educational thing for me. But I would never recommend anybody do this, okay? If you do this, you are 100% in the wrong, and getting banned by your anti-cheat provider, that's a total win for them. But this is just kind of like a research thing for me, and it's also a protest. Look, this is the best way for me to isolate anti-cheats from my actual operating system, is using that virtual machine intermediary. If they want to remove that, then it's probably best to spend my money towards more friendly game publishers or developers. So one of the things that I saw on Linux Gaming, one of the Reddits over here, was a GTA Online tutorial for Linux after the BattlEye update. Now, I would advise never to do this as a Linux gamer. This guy uploads a video on YouTube, and, I'm sure their intentions are in the right place. But if you're looking at their video real carefully, they are running a mod menu and cheat engine to bypass this cheat. Basically, they are running exactly the fucking software that was designed. They're running the same type of software and scripts that Rockstar spent money to implement an anti-cheat to destroy. This is the worst thing you can do as a Linux gamer if you want to make your fucking case, okay? In my situation, I've only bypassed their anti-cheat so I could run the game that I paid money for underneath Microsoft Windows, even if that version of Windows is sitting in a little virtual machine container on my Linux system. Now, you might be wondering, Mudo, why even go through all of that effort? Just fucking play on Windows. And the reality of it is, no, I can protest. I have the ability and understanding to bypass this stuff with ease. So I guess at the end of the day, one of the things that really wilds me out about this situation is, look, after less than a day, what had happened was this mod menu that comes out that's apparently free, open, I'm not linking to it or doing anything. This mod menu effectively allowed people to play Rockstar's, anti-cheat ridden game with ease. And the thing about a mod menu like this is Linux users are not the primary users of these things. Given the fact that most people play on Windows, it stands for reason that this mod menu is probably used, since it's a DLL, injected straight into the Windows version of Grand Theft Auto 5, basically the only PC version. And so in the conquest of destroying a Linux gamer's, chance at playing the video game, they've cut out an entire population of gamers, and ultimately the problem hasn't been solved when the free menus are just as capable, it seems, as even the paid stuff, and the hackers have bypassed this anti-cheat to begin with. Now, I'm not saying that anti-cheat isn't important, and you know what, honestly, I hope Rockstar keeps finding ways to reduce the cheating population. But as it stands, one thing that is possible for Rockstar is, very simply, and again, this is according to Valve and even BattlEye, to simply flick a single switch inside their portals, in their anti-cheat developer portal, and allow Linux gamers and Steam Deck users and anybody that uses Linux to basically play one of the most popular online games right now. Again, it costs Rockstar literally nothing from my understanding to do this. And it would just only open up the game to people playing, because as I've shown, you can bypass it the way that I do by tricking a virtual machine like a detection, or it seems that these mod menus appear to work. And I don't endorse these mod menus. This is cheating and actually is the reason why Rockstar went so invasive. But it's just funny to me that Rockstar has chosen a path of, locking off a bunch of gamers when ultimately their solution didn't even solve anything. Now, at the end of the day, look, I think that Rockstar Games has probably lost my sale on anything PC related down the road. For me, if I have to play any of their games online, I guess I just have to play them on my PlayStation or really not even bother whatsoever. Because again, I do refuse to install these level of anti-cheats on my actual system, just because it's literally a privacy risk, and I don't think any game, even if it's as amazing as Grand Theft Auto, should deserve any of that scrutiny. But I think it's hilarious that locking off a whole bunch of gamers from access when it ultimately didn't really do anything is kind of hilarious at best, okay? It's just funny to me. But yeah, Rockstar, you can make everyone really happy by doing one thing right in this situation, and honestly, I hope they do. I hope they enable anti-cheat for the Linux guys. And I also want Valve to kind of pressure that too. You know, Valve has done a lot, but really they're the only ones with the connections to these big companies to really put that real pressure on them, right? You know, an email from a Valve engineer would be 1,000,000 times more effective than 1,000,000 Reddit posts from angry users on social media that Rockstar can just very conveniently ignore. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, wanted to share this because, yeah, I found it funny that I was able to beat it in a couple days, if not a day. And yeah, ladies and gentlemen, I'm probably not going to play it because I do have a bit of protest against this stuff. I will just switch to other video games. But yeah, Rockstar's anti-cheat really didn't do fucking anything in the grand scheme of things. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it or dislike it. I am out.